If you watch the nightly news, or if you're like me, you get your news online, well, you probably have seen ominous reports about layoffs sweeping across the U.S. You've also heard that there's a slowdown in hiring. Big name companies like Peloton, they're making the news because they've laid off thousands of employees this year. Online car dealer Carvana, they've announced they're slashing 12% of their workforce. Robinhood and Wells Fargo, they're laying off workers. Even traditionally layoff-resistant companies like Netflix are making cuts. Then you've got other companies like Instacart, Uber, and Microsoft. While they're not laying off workers, at least not yet, they've definitely applied the brakes on hiring. So if you're over 50 years old, and you're hearing this news about a wave of layoffs, a slowdown in hiring, you're probably wondering, how does this affect me and my job? How does this affect me and my employment prospects? Well, we're going to talk about that next, right here on Over 50 TV. Welcome back to Over 50 TV. My name is Lou Reyes. Before the break, I said I'm going to tell you what the ominous reports of layoffs sweeping the country and a slowdown in hiring, what that means for the employment prospects of people who are over 50. But before we jump into this issue, what I want to do is let you know that in the description box of this video, you'll find a link to my free cover letter, Hiring Managers Can't Resist. And this fill-in-the-blank cover letter, well, it can help you get your resume past the applicant tracking system robots and get your resume right to that hiring manager. In the description box, you're also going to find a free career aptitude test courtesy of Career Fitter. And if you follow this channel at all, you know that I'm a big advocate of career aptitude tests because I've seen actually how they can help steer you to a job that better fits your experience, your skills, and your personality. So now, let's address the ominous news reports of sweeping layoffs across the U.S. and the slowdown in hiring. The increase in pink slips stemmed from markedly slower business growth paired with rising labor costs. I doubt I'm telling you anything new here because you've heard that many, many times in the news, I'm sure. But layoffs are cutting across industries from digital payment processing to the financial services sector, mostly in mortgage lending. And layoffs, they've also occurred in the healthcare field, but those were primarily during the first third of the year, and they were related to workers refusing to obey vaccine mandates. But lately, we've been hearing about layoffs in the tech sector. They're certainly increasing as some companies, they decide to offshore jobs as they shift their focus to reducing costs and burning through less cash. And that cash is particularly expensive right now as interest rates rise. It was just 3 weeks ago that I published a video. And in that video, I said there's never been a better time to quit your job. Because as we all know, many businesses were literally crying for skilled workers. Well, this is still true. There are almost 2 openings for every person who is looking for a job, who wants a new position. But the combination of economic uncertainty and the high inflation rate is weakening the employment market. However, a slight ray of sunshine pierced the inflation clouds this past Friday by way of a Commerce Department report that said the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation measure rose 4.9% in April, a deceleration from March. And they say this is a sign that price decreases could be slowing. It was a small but not an insignificant development. Even with the economic uncertainty and high inflation, most analysts don't expect massive layoffs. Given how difficult it's been for employers to find workers, it's more likely that they learn from previous recessions that letting people go at the first sign of a downturn can wind up having a high cost when they need to staff up again. And for that reason, they say managers are trying harder to redeploy people within the company instead of letting them go. In a recent New York Times article, they quote John Morgan. He's the president of the outplacement firm LHH. Now, he said that while he was getting more inquiries from companies preparing to downsize, he doesn't expect as large a surge as in past cycles. Morgan says even if they're driving down on profits, a lot of our customers are trying to avoid the fire and rehire playbook of the past because it's just really hard to acquire new talent right now. And he says it's incredibly expensive expensive. While nobody can tell you, and it's certainly not clear what the adjustment or what adjustment's going to happen in the current labor market, what does seem certain is job losses would have to mount considerably before workers, no matter how old you are, would have a hard time finding new positions, and that's because there's such a huge backlog in demand for workers. Another thing that I want to make very, very clear, and this comes up quite frequently in the comments that I receive on almost all of my videos, almost all the videos I produce here on Over 50 TV, is you do have options if you find yourself or were to find yourself laid off from your job, or maybe you're job hunting and for whatever reason you just can't seem to find that job that is just right, the job that's perfect for you. Something that comes up is starting your own business, and it is an option. So no matter what the state of the economy is, no matter what position you find yourself in, or if you find yourself without a position, an option is always to start a business. I recommend, and I've recommended from the very, very beginning of this channel, I recommend starting a side hustle, getting your feet wet, learning what it's like to start a business, learning about the challenges, and learning just from the ground up how to get that business off the ground and get that business soaring. But it is always an option. I realize there are people out there that don't consider it or would never consider starting a business. But I can tell you this, if you look at some of the comments in the comment section that I get, as I said in most of the videos that I produce here on Over 50 TV, if you look at the comments, you'll see that there are many people out there that are looking at starting a business as a good option. It's an alternative to working for somebody else. It's an alternative to being laid off or worrying at your dinner table. Worrying, do I have to worry about my job because the economy is slowing down? So consider starting a business. And again, I recommend starting out with a side hustle. So let me address the central question, the question that we started out in the beginning of this video, which is, what does the current wave of layoffs and a slowdown in hiring, what does that mean for the job prospects of people who are over 50? Well, my answer is I don't expect it to have a great impact. And I don't expect it to have a great impact because I don't believe the cuts will deepen unless the country goes into a recession or unless you find yourself in one of the more vulnerable sectors in the economy. And those sectors are definitely in transition. But regardless of your employment status or the sector you are in, it's always wise to remember recent history, which says 56% of workers over the age of 50 are pushed out of their jobs, often pushed out because of their age, and they're pushed out before they're ready to retire. Now, my recommendation, as always, is this: keep your skills sharp and your resume up to date. Well, that's all I got for you today, folks. I do want to remind you, though, that in the description box of this video, you'll find a link to my free cover letter hiring managers can't resist. And this is a great tool. It's a fill-in-the-blank cover letter that can help you to get your resume past the applicant tracking systems to the hiring manager, to their desk. Now, also in the description box, you're going to find a link to a free career aptitude test, and that test is courtesy of Career Fitters. Again, if you follow this channel, you'll know, or you do know, I'm a big advocate of career aptitude tests because I've seen what they can do. They can help steer you to a job that better fits your experience, your personality, and your skills. I highly recommend career aptitude tests. Again, there's a link to one in the description box. Well, as I said, that's all I got for you today. I want to thank you for watching this video and watching this channel. And as I always say, have a great day, everybody.
Bye.